So I had this idea to take some walnut and some cherry and combine them together to make this really cool looking sign. But before I invested a lot of time and resources and wood into that, I wanted to confirm if my idea would actually work. Because lots of the times, my ideas don't actually work. This video, I'm going to show you how that test turned out, and awesome, yeah, we'll go from there. Oh, and by the way, in case you didn't know, let's run that bumper so you know what channel you're on. I'm Michael, and this is Maker at Play. This project starts with, oh, you guessed it, getting a piece of walnut and get a piece of cherry. And mill these two pieces of lumber down to some thin stock, because I'm going to need thin stock for this. So I'm going to take the cherry and run it across my joiner. My joiner and planer get a lot of work in this project. I have to take this thick cherry and walnut and mill it down to less than 5 millimeters thick. Now that I've got a flat surface to work with on my cherry and on my walnut, I run them through the table saw to get them to a uniform width. So now next I'm going to resaw the walnut and cherry on my table saw, because I don't want to waste all that wood to mill it down to just 5 millimeters. I can cut it in half and then just mill half of it down to 5 millimeters. So here I'm using my trusty caliper to see how thick the wood is, so I can get a general idea of what is going to be about halfway through this, so I can set up my fence to resaw these boards in half. Now this is where I realized I really need to get onto that project of getting my dust collection set back up, because every time I use my table saw, and as you'll see later too, especially using the planer, it generates a lot of sawdust that not only gets all over the shop, but gets all over me. Now, so we're getting close. The board is ready to come apart. And here we go again, raising that blade up a little bit more. The higher the blade, the more nervous I get. And right here, kids, you're about to see why we should not resaw a board all the way through on the table saw. As it goes through and that board comes loose, and whoop, whoop, look at that. Cat-like reflexes. That's what we call kickback. And luckily, that kickback missed hitting me. So, as you'll see here in a moment, I learned my lesson. And on that piece of cherry, I don't try to cut it all the way through on the table saw. That's why I've got a bandsaw to finish off that final cut. Now we got the walnut and cherry split in half. Now it's time to run it through the planer and get it nice and smooth on top. And we're going to get the walnut down to about 5 millimeters. And that cherry we're going to get down to less than 3 millimeters, which that's really thin. That's why here you see I had to put a piece of plywood through my planer, because it will not plane down to 3 millimeters. So I'd be able to raise the board up in order to achieve that. The next step is to fire up the robot and have it cut a pocket into the walnut. So here's a nice grainy zoom in shot of the robot cutting that pocket, so that we can see it's actually cutting a pocket. And inside that pocket is where we're going to stick that piece of cherry. Here's a pro tip, kids. When you cut a piece of wood on the CNC, you're cutting a pocket in one and you're cutting a square in the other and expecting them to fit inside each other, you gotta offset your drawing in the CNC. Otherwise, they end up being the exact same size and they don't fit inside each other. So that just leads to a little bit more sanding. But that sanding will take care of it, and now we have a nice fit. So we have our cherry is going to fill part of our walnut. And we're going to glue this in place. Now I'm gluing that cherry to fill this pocket or recess inside this walnut. And I'm going to go find me a discreet place to wipe that glue off my finger. Maybe in one of the kids' ears, we'll see. A couple clamps to get that cherry to stay in place, and let this set up overnight to make a nice solid piece of wood. You know what, kids? In my mind, I'm still a young, vibrant man with all my hair on my head. And these videos help remind me that no, I am old and I am going bald. Now, all that work of melting the lumber and getting the cherry and walnut combined together was just the lead up to this step here, which is the actual final product I'm going for. And that is to carve some letters into the walnut to reveal that cherry from underneath to create a nice contrast for the sign. So in this grainy footage, because I need to learn to improve my videoing of my CNC, we're about to see, does the walnut and cherry combination create the actual look that I'm going for. I really do like the way this font turned out on the CNC. I do see myself in future projects using this font more often. So down in the description below, I'll list what this font is in case any of y'all would like to use that font in some of your projects. And while we're talking about things down below, you'll find below those description in a YouTube video, there's a section called the comments. You know what would be really great or very cool or encouraging is if you just browsed on down there and left a comment. You know, you could say something about, just say hi, or hey, I enjoyed the video, or you can reassure my self-esteem and say, no, it's okay you're losing your hair. It's fine. But either way, you know, just dropping a line down in the comments would be something I'd greatly appreciate and enjoy. And if you're so inclined, you can also hit that like button while you're down there and hit that subscribe button, because we're working to get those subscription numbers up on my channel. So I'd really appreciate that. In fact, you might even realize that this project, what the word that's being carved out is subs, which is short for subscriptions. So that might give you a clue to the next project that I'm working on. So again, I really appreciate you watching my video. And here's the final product. We can see that the cherry popping through that walnut actually turned out to work pretty well. I did a test of just the walnut with the engraving in it, and then a test of the walnut with the cherry behind it engraving. And we definitely can see how the cherry adds to it and makes it stand out much better. So I'm calling this experiment a success. And based off the success, I'm going to kick off working on my larger project that is going to incorporate this technique that I just confirmed. So look forward to that video coming in the near future. Hopefully sooner than later. Well, actually, as I record this video, that project's actually already done, and it turned out really great. But I haven't edited that video yet. And it usually takes me a while to edit videos, so hopefully that'll get done sooner than later, and you'll be able to see that video. But in the meantime, don't forget to hit that subscription button and leave a comment down below. Appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video.